Hello everybody, Jason Waters here, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to get your photos from looking like this to looking like this using only Adobe Lightroom. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom, and I got the pre-selected photo up, and the first thing I want to point out is that the subject in this photo is fairly centered, and everybody who really knows photography or portrait photography knows that it's not usually ideal to be shooting center. So one thing I'm going to want to do is move her over to the right a little bit, so crop this image, and on top of that I want to point out that she's also looking up, so you want to tell a bit more of a story, have her looking up in the sky a little bit more, and let's show you guys how to do that. So you're going to go up to this control up here. Actually, what I like to do, you can do it two ways. So yeah, you can hit your crop overlay, and just bring in the image a little bit just like that, and then boom, you have what is fairly okay. Actually, it's not bad. When I'm developing photos though, I kind of like doing it a different way, which is if you scroll down here to these settings right here, and what I would do first is I'd scale in to a certain point, and then I'd go to the X offset so I could pull her off to the side a little bit, and then you see that there's a little bit of white there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click X offset, and then I'm going to hit my plus or minus key. So plus is going to move it over to the right, minus is going to move it over to the left. So I'm going to hit minus because that little white stripe is coming up. Okay, so then that's fairly off to the left, to the right as well right now. And the Y offset is going to move it up or down. So when I'm going to probably want her down a little bit. So right where that white box is. And still it's a little bit too much. I'm going to scale in a little bit more. I'm going to move her over a little bit right so she's looking a little bit more up. And this is the hard part about doing this, but it kind of lets you do things a little bit more slow, gives you a better aspect ratio. Let me bring her down just a little bit more, and then we're going to get started on the real adjustments of the coloring of this photo. I want her right about there. That looks perfect to me. Okay, so let's go back up over here to your color controls. First thing that I'm going to want to do is bring down your shadows. That's going to darken your background a little bit more. This was shot actually in a light environment, so it wasn't a backdrop. Some people think that this is like a backdrop or something like that. It's not. It's actually very lighted in the back. I have a light actually on the subject. My camera is really low on ISO, so it's only absorbing the light that the synthetic light is actually bringing out. So I have my ISO down at 160 right up here. It was a 70mm lens at an f-stop of 10. And a shutter speed of 1/25 of a second. So let's go right into how to adjust this photo. So I'm going to bring down the shadows, and then the highlights, I want them to pop out a little bit. So I'm going to bring up the highlights, but when I do that, notice Lightroom tells me when something's overexposed, and right here by the eye she's overexposed. So let me get the ratio here. I want to zoom in, so I'm going to zoom in 100%, pull the photo up. And the way to correct this is, yeah, you don't want to bring down the exposure of the entire photo, right? So Lightroom has this tool up here. It's like a adjustment brush, and you're going to click it. And right away, what you're going to do is you're going to decrease your brush size or increase to the size of what you're trying to paint. So I'm going to paint right here, and don't be freaking out if it starts turning even more red. As you can see here, it's like, whoa, what's going on, because what you're going to do now is that section is painted. You're going to go over here to exposure and just bring it down just to where the red is eliminated. Now I know this is probably a minor detail to some people as far as like in the eye. Okay, it's overexposed, it's shine or whatever. To me, I think it looks just a tad bit better bringing that exposure down. It's not like pointing at you as much. So now that we got that eliminated here and done, and then I'm going to go back up here and fit. And there we go, her eye is now perfectly exposed. So now you kind of see how she has like a bleached out look, right? And I'm going to show you guys how to color now. First of all, I'm going to add in a little bit more black. I'm going to darken the blacks a little bit, add more contrast. And the whites I'm going to bring up just a tad bit, very little, not much. Overdoing it is just overdone. I mean, it'll blacken out the image, and let me show you guys here quickly. It'll just like make it look really bad. So you just want to do it just a little bit. Right now, right there is probably about good at -17 for blacks. Whites, you don't want to go either too high either, because then it's overexposed as well. And that right there is pretty good right there. And that's pretty much just adding contrast. Like if I was to add contrast, it'll do the same thing as the whites and blacks. I like adjusting the contrast myself, but to each their own, you know. Anyhow, then I come down to vibrance and saturation. Now, vibrance and saturation is something where a lot of people screw up. They oversaturate or over photo, and it just creates an overall synthetic look. It's not like you're ever going to see that in real life. So what I like to do is I click on vibrance, and it says modify vibrance with plus or minus keys. I'm going to hit my plus key and slowly bring in that color, because I don't want her to look synthetic. I want it to look just like how this puppy actually looked. So I bring it up to 35-ish, maybe 40. I'll say 40. And then the saturation, after it just starts looking like a natural color, the saturation kind of makes it pop a little bit. So I'm going to click on saturation, and don't do too much saturation. If you do too much saturation, some people, I see this happen too many times where they increase the saturation like way up here, and it's like, oh yeah, it's a lot of color, but it doesn't look real. It looks really washed out. There's no real color in it. It's just not good. Okay, so I'm going to double click and bring it back to 0. I'm going to hold saturation and hit the plus key. So 1, 2, now that's plus 10. I think that's pretty good. I mean, I could add a little bit more vibrance, and that's, you know, whatever. I think that's probably more actually how that puppy actually looked. She was a bit lighter of a brown, or whatever you guys want to call it. And that's pretty much how she looked. At this point, I'm pretty happy with how she looks. I might take the red and make it a little bit more orangish. Slight, very slight, not much, like that. The yellows, maybe make that look a little closer to an oranger look. Just a tad bit, not much, okay? You gotta be very careful with how much color you guys put in. But yeah, that's pretty much how you will take this photo and re-edit it in Lightroom only. Oh, another thing I should probably show you guys is how to save a preset. So let's just say I want to put it onto like this photo right here, and it's washed out, and I'm like, okay, well I just did the same photo, it's the same shoot, so a lot of these colors might actually work in the same, you know, aspects. So what I'm going to do is over here, you see I already did a couple here. I had a couple presets. I'm going to go up here and say add, and I'm going to type in, you know, the preset, right? So I'm going to say puppy preset, and this is going to be 3, and then it saves all these settings down here, and all you do is hit create, and there's the settings. So I'm going to go back over to this photo, right, the one that was kind of washed out. Say, okay, I want to just do it quickly, right? Hit puppy preset, and boom, it's already pre-colored. Well, I hope this tutorial helped you guys out. Please feel free to comment, and please like and subscribe this channel, as it is a new channel starting up, and it would kind of show me if you guys want to see more of this. Stay tuned for more.